Close your eyes and listen. That eerie alien wail you're hearing isn't a composer's creation or a sound designer's trick. That is the raw radio signal of Saturn itself, screaming across billions of kilometers of empty space. For hundreds of years, humanity gazed at this distant world through telescopes and saw something magnificent. A golden sovereign suspended in the darkness, crowned with a luminous halo of rings that seemed to glow with an almost supernatural grace. We sketched it, painted it, and wrote poems about it. We named it after a god and treated it like a gift left for us by the universe, something placed in the sky specifically for our wonder and admiration. We were completely wrong about what we were looking at. Saturn is not serene. It is not resting. It is not a jewel hung gently in the cosmic dark. It is a colossal engine of destruction, a sphere of hydrogen and helium so enormous and spinning so furiously that centrifugal force has warped its own body, flattening it at the poles and bulging it at the equator until it resembles something closer to a squashed ball than a sphere. Beneath that gorgeous golden exterior lies a machine of unimaginable power, constantly churning, constantly raging, constantly consuming. This is the Lord of Chaos, and it is time we stopped being fooled by its disguise. Let us begin with the rings, because that is where Saturn's deception starts. From the surface of Earth, through any telescope, those rings appear immaculate. They look like solid golden discs, perfectly formed, smoothly rotating, timelessly beautiful. They look like something an architect designed with intention and precision. They look safe. They are none of those things. If a spacecraft were to descend into those rings, it would enter a war zone. The rings of Saturn are not solid at all. They are an endless howling blizzard of ice and rock, fragments ranging from grains barely the size of a fingernail to boulders as large as a small mountain. Every single piece is hurtling through space at thousands of kilometers per hour, constantly smashing into its neighbors, shattering into smaller shards, those shards colliding again in a never-ending cycle of destruction and reformation. This debris field stretches nearly 300,000 kilometers from edge to edge, wider than the distance between Earth and the Moon. Yet despite that staggering width, the rings are extraordinarily thin. In certain regions, they measure just 10 meters deep. 10 meters. A structure wide enough to span a continent, thin enough to be sliced through by a modest wave. It is the most elegant blade in the solar system, and it was forged through murder. The most widely accepted scientific theory about the origin of Saturn's rings is a story of tragedy. Long ago, in the early history of the solar system, a moon of considerable size drifted too close to Saturn. It crossed what scientists call the Roche limit, the invisible boundary within which a planet's tidal forces overpower the gravitational cohesion holding a smaller body together. Saturn did not merely pull this moon in, it dismantled it. It peeled away the outer layers, cracked apart the interior, and reduced an entire world to 1 trillion shattered pieces of ice and rock. Those pieces never escaped. They became the rings. What we romanticize as Saturn's crown is, in reality, the dispersed remains of a world that no longer exists, a graveyard orbiting a killer. But the rings are only the beginning of what makes Saturn genuinely strange. Direct your attention to Saturn's North Pole. When the Cassini spacecraft first captured detailed imagery of this region, scientists were stunned into confusion. Physics, as we understand it, should not permit what they saw. Fluid dynamics, the science governing how gases and liquids move, predicts curves, spirals, circular formations. Nature is not supposed to produce sharp angles. Yet there, rotating steadily around Saturn's North Pole, is a storm in the shape of a perfect hexagon. This is not a marking on the planet's surface. It is a living hurricane, a 6-sided atmospheric beast large enough to contain 4 complete copies of Earth within its walls. Those walls plunge hundreds of kilometers downward into Saturn's atmosphere. At the center of this geometric nightmare sits a colossal vortex, swirling with deep red hues, beautiful in the way that an open wound is beautiful. It has been rotating for decades, possibly centuries, without weakening. A permanent scar etched into the face of a planet that refused to let it heal. As if the hexagon were not enough, Saturn has another weapon in its atmospheric arsenal. Once every 30 Earth years, approximately one full Saturnian orbit around the Sun, something enormous wakes up inside the planet. Astronomers have named it the Great White Spot. It is a storm system of such extraordinary scale that it wraps itself entirely around the planet's circumference, an atmospheric event with no equivalent anywhere else in our solar system. The lightning it generates strikes with 10,000 times the power of any thunderbolt ever recorded on Earth. It dredges up white clouds of ammonia crystals from deep within Saturn's interior, temporarily bleaching the planet's golden bands into ghostly white ribbons. It is the planet reminding us that underneath that tranquil appearance, something enormous and furious has been building pressure all along. Saturn governs more than 140 moons, making it the ruler of a vast celestial kingdom. Among them are two worlds that deserve particular attention, because each one is hiding something extraordinary. The first is Titan. In any logical universe, a moon should not have an atmosphere thicker than Earth's. Titan does. Standing on its surface, you would see clouds forming overhead, rivers carving through the terrain below, and lakes stretching to the horizon. Every visual cue would suggest familiarity, even comfort. But Titan is a brilliant liar. Those clouds do not carry water. They carry liquid methane and ethane, natural gas raining from the sky in slow, lazy drops due to the low gravity. The temperature holds steady around -179 degrees Celsius. The vast dunes that cover its surface are not sand but dark, electrostatically charged grains of hydrocarbon, essentially a form of plastic, sculpted into massive ridges by alien winds. Titan wears the appearance of a habitable world as a costume. Underneath, it is utterly hostile to everything we know as life. The second moon is Enceladus, and it may be the most important world in the solar system. For a long time, Enceladus looked unremarkable. A small, icy ball, frozen and inert. Then scientists noticed deep blue fractures cutting across its south pole. Tiger stripes, they called them. And from those fractures, Enceladus bleeds water. Enormous geysers erupt hundreds of kilometers into space, ejecting water vapor, salt, and complex organic molecules at supersonic velocities. Saturn's gravitational grip flexes and squeezes this tiny moon continuously, generating enough internal heat to maintain a liquid global ocean beneath its frozen crust. That ocean is warm. It contains salt. It contains the chemical building blocks associated with life. In the crushing, lightless depths of Enceladus, something may have found a way to exist. We arrived at Saturn expecting gas and frozen rock. We may have found life's neighbors instead. To gather these discoveries, humanity sent a single emissary, the Cassini spacecraft. For 13 years it orbited Saturn, studying its storms, threading through its rings, photographing its moons. When Cassini finally exhausted its fuel supply in 2017, scientists faced a difficult decision. Rather than risk contaminating Enceladus or Titan with Earth-origin microbes aboard the spacecraft, they chose to destroy it deliberately. Cassini was directed straight into Saturn's atmosphere. It held its antenna pointed at Earth for as long as physics permitted, transmitting data to the very last possible moment before the heat and pressure dissolved it completely. It became part of the planet it had spent over a decade studying. There is one final truth about Saturn that should give us pause. The rings are vanishing. Saturn's gravity is drawing them steadily downward in a process called ring rain, pulling billions of kilograms of material into the planet each year. Within approximately 100 million years, a cosmic eye blink, the rings will be entirely gone. Saturn will lose its crown and become simply another enormous, anonymous gas giant drifting through the dark. Look at it now, while it still wears its halo. What you are seeing is temporary, a fleeting arrangement of ice and gravity and violence, assembled briefly into something so beautiful it tricked an entire civilization into thinking it was peaceful. Saturn is the most stunning object in our solar system. And like all the most dangerous things in the universe, it knows exactly how to use that to its advantage.